Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, and today I'm bringing you a TV episode review from the classic 90s Goosebumps TV show from Fox Kids. And I don't have the physical DVD to show because they never made one in North America. And I don't have the VHS because it's crazy rare and expensive online. So I'm going to superimpose an image right here where my hand is of the episode I'm reviewing. And I'm going to use the VHS cover art. And the episode is Werewolf Skin. This episode is a fun one of Ron Oliver's best episodes. It's a two-parter, very good for what it is. One of the highlights from season 3 for sure. This episode kind of has some controversy behind it, dealing with Ron Oliver picking up the script from Dan Angel and Billy Brown due to their exiting because of the studio and Fox turning down their original script idea. I've talked about this before in another video. I'm really curious to see what Michael Goosebumps fan will have to say in his video review for the episode. He's doing the Werewolf Review-a-thon with me, along with Monster Blood, and I'll link their channels in the description of this video. We've kind of talked about the episode here and there in this chat we're in, which I also will shout out Grayson the Goosebumps Kid Goosebumps chat, and I'll link the Discord link in the description of this video as well. Just join if you want. Keep it clean though. Alright. So, yeah, this episode was also started in production and finished before the book Werewolf Skin was ever released. So filming would have been in like summer of '97. The book came out in October. Canada gets cold in October pretty quick. So I'm assuming they wrapped up filming way before then. So this is one of the weird situations where the episode was made before the book was ever released. So maybe some differences in the episode was a part of the original draft or idea behind the story. I don't know. I'm not going to get into all that. But without further ado, let's get into the plot overview of the episode without giving too much away. So part 1 starts off kind of like the book, Alex, except he's now known as Alex Blackwell in the episode instead of Alex Hunter in the book. I thought that was kind of a weird change. One of those weird idiosyncrasies that the episodes decided to change up here and there. But this time he's dropped off at nighttime instead of daytime by this really funny bus driver who likes to mess with him. And Alex is a city slicker kind of kid. You know, he has a wit and some charm to him. And kudos to the actor for being able to capture Alex before the book was ever released. He did a pretty good job, given that the book wasn't even released yet. So, yeah, great job to that kid actor. He played Alex very well. So he gets dropped off at the bus station at night. He realizes that his aunt and uncle have kind of forgotten about him. So he goes to the bench at the bus stop and just sits there and starts reading this horror magazine that he brought with him. And he notices there's this photography contest you can win $1,000 for if you submit a scary photo that happens to win the contest. Now this is kind of mirroring what happened in the book, except they got rid of the whole Halloween element. As a matter of fact, the whole Halloween theme, or, you know, setting building theme the book had going for it, is completely absent in this episode. But nonetheless, it's still kind of the same idea. He falls asleep, and then the next morning he's wakened up by his Uncle Colin, who's happy to see him. They haven't seen each other in a while. And then he and Alex get in the car and they head back to the house to see his Aunt Marta. And of course, Aunt Marta's there waiting. She's preparing breakfast, and she just couldn't wait to see Alex. It was a fun greeting. It's a long time coming for them. And then, of course, Alex goes inside, and then his Uncle Colin basically warns him when he goes to his room to set up his stuff that he has to stay away from the Marlings' house and don't go out in the woods after dark, you know, kind of like the book. But Alex wants to go get some exploring done while there's still daytime. So he's trying to capture something scary on his camera that he carries around with him. He's snapping photos of the Marlings' house. He's like, this is kind of creepy. And then he stumbles across this girl named Hannah. It's kind of different setup than the book did. But him and Hannah have this interaction. They go touring the woods together. And Hannah starts giving a little background story about Wolf Creek and potentially being werewolves in Wolf Creek. Now, it's a little bit different than the book, as Arjun and Sean have an interaction with him instead of Hannah just telling him outright. But that's neither here or there. So Hannah notices that the sun's about to go down, so she wants to get back to her house before it gets dark. And Alex is like, you know what? I don't really believe in this. Let me go walk around the woods a little bit and try to, take some pictures. And Alex gets kind of sidetracked, gets kind of lost, and he finds his way to the creek. And he hears a sound, and he peers over, and he thinks he sees a wild animal, but it's not a wild animal that he sees. He thinks he sees some type of creature. He runs back to his house, where his aunt and uncle, his aunt and uncle's house, not his house. But he runs back there, and then he notices some weird activity going on with these creatures potentially walking towards the Marling's house. So he goes up there to snoop, and his Aunt Marta catches him and says, you can't be doing this, they're going to get really mad at you, and basically scolds him before driving off to go somewhere. Then it's nighttime, he goes to bed. The next morning, it's revealed he still has to go to school, and also there's a phone call from the Marlings saying that Alex was snooping around their house and they saw him, and Marta scolds him again for doing it and warning him another time to stay away from the Marlings' house. So he goes to school, kind of like the book, except the whole Halloween element, like I said, is completely absent. And this is where we meet Sean and Arjun, who are these kids in this class that Alex is attending while, kind of like the book, Alex's parents have gone overseas. So he's going to be with his aunt and uncle for a while, so he's going to have to temporarily attend the school of Wolf Creek. And Sean gives a speech about werewolves being in the woods and how they're real and how he believes in them. And then, of course, the bell rings, and Sean and Arjun confront a speculating Alex, who's been denying their story or kind of shrugging what Sean had to say. And then Sean and Arjun basically dare Alex to meet him in the woods, and they'll show him that werewolves really exist. And Alex takes him up and says, I'll do one better. I'll take a picture of it and show you that they exist. So Alex and Hannah are walking home on this bridge from school, and Hannah warns him about not caving into Sean and Arjun, just to not go in the woods and stay away. But Alex says, you know what, I got something to prove with these kids. I'm going to do it. And when he gets to his room, he's waiting for his aunt and uncle to go to bed, and he notices that his door is locked from the inside and the windows are barred, and he can't escape. So he's really frustrated, but he peers out of his window and he notices that something's going on at the Marling's house, and something's crawling out of the Marling's house, and they look to be werewolves. Now, he is completely mystified, and he tries to get his camera to take a picture, and then they disappear. So he opens up his window to make sure that he wasn't seeing things, and then it cliffhangs part one with the werewolves trying to break through the bars of the window. Now, part two picks up from that scene. Alex is tormented. He puts a little sign on the door. He waits by the door to wait to see if anything opens the door. He wakes up to his aunt and uncle coming in and checking on him, and he said that he's doing fine, but he's really spooked about the night before. And basically, he has to go to school, where Sean and Arjun give him a hard time for not meeting him, and then come to find out that Sean and Arjun never were going to plan to meet him anyways. It's kind of like the book, so Alex gets kind of peeved. But now Alex is sure that the werewolves are coming from the Marling's house, so he has to take a picture to win this contest. This will be the guaranteed win, and he has to figure out a way to do it. So he figures out a way to, like the book, to sneak out. And he sneaks out, and he picks a spot, and he decides to wait there while his aunt and uncle are sleeping. And before you know it, he dozes off and doesn't get any pictures done. He has a little nightmare sequence happen to him. And when he wakes up, he realizes what time it is, and he has to hurry back to the house. And when he runs back, he gets inside his room, he shuts the door, he wants to make sure everything looks like it hasn't been tampered with or anything. And he peers out this window, and then he notices the werewolves in the Marling's house again, and this time he discovers who they are. Kind of like the book. Now, I don't want to get into any further without spoiling anything, but basically, like the book, he comes up with this idea with Hannah to get the skins, and they have to go into the Marling's house like the book, and they get the skins this time, except they have a different idea of what to do with the skins. They have this idea to, instead of kind of using them for Halloween, this time they're going to take them out to a field and dig a hole and bury them to keep them away from whoever the werewolves are, to hopefully cure them of their werewolf curse. And of course the whole climax happens, and then the resolution happens, and then the ending is kind of a twist in itself. So that's basically the episode. Yeah, it's a pretty solid episode. Kind of like the book. Alex was well acted. The aunt and uncle, pretty good job. Hannah's performance was the only one that really didn't hit me the same way the book did. Arjun and Sean were funny. A lot of humor added to the story in the episode than we got in the book. The only thing that I think suffered for me with this episode, and I'm curious to see if the other guys agree with me, is the atmosphere building. It's nowhere near the execution that Fever Swamp had. Fever Swamp was able to capture atmosphere pretty well, and not to mention the acting was probably the best the show ever saw. As in here, the acting is pretty good. It's not as good, but the setting building that the book had offered more than the episode. It just felt like a typical Woods story. For what it was, it worked. I just felt like the complete absence of the Halloween time of year was pretty prevalent in the episode. Not taking anything away from the cinematography or anything. I just felt the story kind of suffered on that, comparing it to the book. I prefer the book's atmosphere building over that. I wasn't as immersed as I probably could have been with the episode. So I kind of find that to be not a deal-breaking negative, but it is a pullback. Not to mention the ending choice they went with was a little bit tame compared to the book. This story is a dark story. I don't like the ambiguity to the ending as much as we got in the book. The book was way darker, way more graphic, as in the episode, it was just leaves you hanging and wondering what's going to happen. I don't like that as much. So when it comes from 0 to 5 stars, with those problems with the atmosphere issue I had and the ending, I deducted 0.5 for both combined. So I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It's still an A. It's still excellent, 4.5 or higher. It's just I've seen better episodes, better adaptations, or whatever you want to call them, and I feel like it's just deserve it at that. So yeah, that's my review of the Werewolf Skin episode. Let me know in the comment section if you loved this episode or if you hated this episode. I'm dying to know, and I'll see you next time.